Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
Hi, this is Roger Gaither, your host for the Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast. In this episode of Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast, Bill Macchio, publisher of Mount Pleasant Magazine, chats with Michael Fiem from Tidal Wave Water Sports. Now, here are Bill and Michael.
I am so excited. Here we are with another edition of Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast. And there is a business that exists. The total mission of the business is for you, the listeners, to have fun. And we've got Michael here with Tidal Wave Sports. And Michael, thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you. Here's a cover. I know Roger, our producer, wants to put that cover, and you've heard me say it a dozen times now. I just love that cover. Doesn't it just look awesome? Oh, yes. It's, it shows the epitome of fun here. You got the girls parasailing. I don't know how many people see this parachute going around the harbor or going in front of the beach up at the Isle of Palms, but anybody on this is having a wonderful, wonderful time.
How old is Tidal Wave?
I've been doing Tidal Wave since 2004. It was Steve and Billy's Tidal Wave Runners starting in 96, and then it just kind of maturated into more. But it's, afforded me the opportunity to do what I've always wanted to do, and that is to provide fun for people.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like contagious.
It's like publishing the magazine. I mean, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
We just enjoy it. But one of the things getting to know you, Michael, that I was intrigued about is we think of your business catering to the tourists that are here, but you're deeply rooted within the community, are you not?
Oh, most definitely. This is something that, a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people around the Lowcountry have either grown up here or, haven't grown up here. And, if they've grown up on a lake or, they haven't been around the salt water and the marshlands and everything, it can be a bit daunting for somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience. And, I've come across so many, families who say, I don't want to own a boat. I don't have a boat. I don't want to deal with a boat club or anything like that. I just want somebody to take care of everything. So, that's what we do, and one of our biggest things that attracts local families is our wakeboard water ski charters. So what we do is, when you come on, say a mom and dad are having a birthday for one of their kids, and they're, or maybe they just want to have an afternoon free to themselves. They give the kids to us and we put them on the boat, and they just said, have them back by 5. And we take them out and we give them lessons on how to wakeboard, how to water ski, how to do some knee boarding, some wake surfing. We have all the toys. Our employees actually go to camps in Austin, Texas, and in Florida to learn how to teach people to get up and to accomplish these goals. And, just like with everything we do, seeing, a child or an adult accomplish something or get that sense of accomplishment, out of something they've probably wanted to do for so long, but just didn't have the correct training. It's a feeling it's an adrenaline-like feeling.
Michael, I remember in one of our conversations, you spoke about moms bringing their kids to the dock and dropping them off to your place so they can have fun and so they can. That sense of trust that you've built with inside this community, you've got to feel really proud of that, no?
I always look at the sense of accomplishment when we have a mom or a dad who, their kids come running down the dock for the 6th or 7th year in a row for the birthday party. And they're just like, hey, take them and have fun, and they know that they're in good hands with us. And that's what we've always tried to, strive for, is that, when you come to Tidal Wave, you're going to have fun, but, the Tidal Wave guys are going to take care of you and take care of your family.
So, Michael, you've been on the Isle of Palms for a while. But how old is a new location downtown? What's the difference between the location downtown and the one on Isle of Palms?
So we're third year downtown as a brick and mortar. We've done, pickups at the local Mount Pleasant docks, and, we've had a real big presence at Shem Creek with charters and things like that. But we just started putting jet skis down there and, expanding upon what we have built on. And we're located at the Seabreeze Marina, which a lot of people don't really realize it's there. When you're going from Mount Pleasant, you're going down into downtown and you look over towards the downtown area and you see the ports, and then you see that little dry stack of boats. It's like a little condominium of boats. That's the Seabreeze Marina. They're expanded. So
it's, Michael, excuse me. So it's right off of East Bay Street?
Right off of East Bay. Yeah. In fact, right now there's there's an office complex and an apartment complex being built at the entrance to, coming off of that East Bay onto Johnson Street. And, with that area is growing, and, right. And downtown is growing in general. And, you have the young adults who want to do something, and they don't want to go to Folly for the day and fight traffic, or they don't want to go to Isle of Palms and fight traffic. We wanted to be downtown to offer on water to people who just don't want to deal with an all day type of thing.
Let people know that are watching and or listening that the latest issue of Mount Pleasant Magazine has an article. I should have prefaced at the beginning of this, but that's what inspired me as a publisher to bring you on, is because the article's inside the magazine. And for those that would like to read it, you can go to www.readmpm.com. That's readmpm.com. And you can read about Michael's business and his brother's business.
Everyone's talking about real estate. The conversation continues with Voice for Real Estate podcast. Listen and learn from the experts who call the Carolinas home. Podcast advertising gives your business a voice of authority. Be heard. Advertise on this podcast. Visit voiceforrealestate.com.
You're listening to the Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast.
In talking to you, when I asked you that questions about wedding, I thought that you were going to say, dig back in your memory and think about one or two. But I'm amazed that so many people have used your venues and your business to get married. Can you expand on that, please?
Yeah. When I started, this was something I never thought would have happened. You could have given me 10 scenarios and I'd be like, no way. We've had more people get engaged than any other thing than any other thing that's ever happened. I mean, we had somebody drop a ring in the air, but we've also had people get married, and some of them just show up in wedding gowns.
Walk us through that. When you said they got married, were they actually?
They actually got married fully dressed. The girl and the guy were fully dressed in full wedding garb. She had the long gown with the veil and everything like that. And, they were going off the back deck. They were sitting on the back deck, and, all of the captains are ordained when you're on the sea, so you can officiate a wedding. So before they went up, they were married, and then they got launched in the air. And so their first couple minutes of marriage were spent 800 feet above the ground, looking down at the Charleston Harbor. And
tell us about the couple and how that evolved.
So I would be lying to say if I was there that day. I got there at the tail end. It was a couple. They were in their late 20s, and I got a call from our dock manager, and she said, "You're not going to believe this. Somebody's getting married on parasailing." I was like, "Yeah, it's been done before." She's like, "No, they're in full wedding gear." I was like, "I'm leaving. I got to come up there." So we got back, and they had even requested to be dunked on the way back. So they're now in wedding gear because they wanted to be dunked. They wanted to be blessed on the way back in, and they were the nicest couple in the world. And it was nice that they thought of us on such an important day in their life, and they had both come to us on different occasions, some separately, some together over the years. And they decided that they wanted to do parasailing, and they chose us to do it. Now, it was very humbling.
So they wanted to do parasailing because it's the most fun thing they've done together as a couple when they were dating?
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Creating those memories, Michael. Create those memories, dude.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And creating those memories, we get so many write-ins from people, and you see write-ups or reviews, and people will just say best day ever, best day in Charleston, hands down. And as an owner operator, that is something that's irreplaceable. I mean, that's adrenaline that, we're not going to be rich men doing this, but man, the enlightenment of what this does for us on a daily basis, I never want to do anything else with my life.
What a way to approach business. That's awesome, Michael. Now, safety. I asked you in a previous conversation about an association that you were involved in. Is there an association? And you broke down. Tell us a little about it so people understand the safety net that goes behind all this, please.
We're a part of the National Parasail Safety Council. We help instill the laws with ASTM, the Coast Guard, and the FAA for parasailing. So it's a multi level conglomerate that does all this. And parasailing needs to be safe for everybody. It needs to be safe, and you're putting your life in our hands, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can do to make sure that happens 100% of the time. But not only do we want to do that, but we want to also make sure that if you're at another beach or in another country for that matter, that you're also getting that same level of care. And, while we've done it throughout the United States, we're still reaching out to other countries, other islands, to try to implement the safety practices that we have required here in this country.
I thought it was very interesting that there's been very few accidents on parasailing.
Yes, since 2002, there's been less than 10 accidents, and that's nationwide, involving a fatality. And every one of them is dealt with weather. And, if you're ever on vacation somewhere and you see a squall line coming, that you should tell that captain that they shouldn't be taking you up.
The mistake that was made that caused a severe accident was based on weather then.
Was based on, captain's error on weather. He thought he could get 2 more people up and down, and before a squall came through. And, we had part of the National Parasail Safety Council is that we have implemented no commission on flights. The captains just get paid a flat rate, and, they're, in a way incentivized to just not fly.
I got you.
Because parasailing on a day-to-day basis is one of the safest things you can do. The parachute's already inflated. If I were to cut the line, you would just simply float down to the water and you'd sit there and be like, what happened? And it's that safe. Everything that we do is a double check and a triple check. We get inspected by the Coast Guard and the FAA on all of our equipment. And you could look inside of our boats. They are the cleanest looking engine compartments you've ever seen in your life, because they need to be, because, the cleaner a boat is, the more you can tell something's wrong.
One of the things that interests me was the people that work there with you. They go back generational sometimes, or they get older. Tell us a little bit about the people you have work for you to help spread that fun that you're doing. Buddy.
Yeah, so we've employed over 100 island kids, and I've had families who've all three sets of kids have come up through us, and from the oldest one being 20 to the youngest one being 5 at the time, and they all worked their way. And once they got up to college, they went through. We've had customers who, I have a girl working for us right now who I have a picture of when she was 5 years old in water wings on our dock, and now she works for us. She's in PA school down at MUSC. We have a van that we drive around to help shuttle people around the island, and I tell people this story. So there's a group of young kids in this picture of tubing and banana boating and everything. Well, last year they came, and the one girl was getting married, and they're all post-college. I felt like a very, very old man there, but that's how long. When we drove up to the dock to pick them up, I had a boy with me as the mate, and these people are screaming my name, and they're like, and he didn't know what was going on. He's like, what is going on? I was like, you don't understand. They've been with us forever. And it was such a warming experience to see these girls and boys grow up. And, they're all from the Tennessee area, and grandma lived down here on the Isle of Palms, and they would vacation down here every summer. And, just to see that, we're to the point where we've been in the business long enough that we're starting to see kids of kids now,
Right.
and, so it's, to develop that kind of relationship. I'm glad we're in Charleston. I'm glad we're in a market that is Charleston, because we know those people and those people know us.
Yeah, it's kind of like publishing the magazine. It's like, yes, we have to do it to make a living, and yes, we want to do the best we can with business, but it's much, much more than
that. About the relationships, or the remembrance, the memories, the relationships. That's what keeps you getting out of bed in the morning and getting back to work. And it's you never work a day in your life if you enjoy what you do.
Michael, tell us about. I really liked how you integrated your Instagram followers with our publication, with the front cover. Can you explain to our audience what you did?
Yeah. So, we have always loved your publication. I'm not just saying that because we have advertised with you forever. And, it's just such a wonderful publication. It's clean, it's neat, it's eye-catching. And so after we did this, we were sitting down there talking, and I was like, why don't we track this? Why don't we see what this is really going to get? And so we ran an Instagram post, and saying that if you saw this post for Mount Pleasant Magazine and you type in MTP Mag, you would get 10% off. Within 2 hours, we had 12 people already do that. Now, I haven't had a chance to look since then, and I do apologize. I got waylaid with some things, but I am so interested to see that at the end of the month, how many that's going to turn into. And it's just, there is power in print advertising, and a lot of people are going away from it. But, when you're standing at the grocery store and you see that rack of magazines and you see that Mount Pleasant magazine, you want to pick it up, because you don't always want to be on a digital device all the time. Sometimes you just want to kind of relax.
To address that, thank you. But to address that, there's signs that publications definitely are coming back in vogue. And it's just because exactly what you talked about. There's a fatigue going on by looking at your screen all day. But
yes.
It's more than that with Mount Pleasant Magazine. Mount Pleasant Magazine is about our town and what we represent as a community. And I say this often, I cannot lose direction in that. It's not about how good I may or may not be in my craft. It's about who I represent, which is the community of Mount Pleasant. And that's our mission, always to tell the best story possible about the businesses, the people, and the places and events in Mount Pleasant.
And you have been on forever.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Just like you love it. That's cool talking to somebody who has as much passion.
You and I could talk forever. It's so fun.
I want to thank you for joining us on Lowcountry Live earlier. And I'm really proud to let people know about you through Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast. And man, I look forward to our relationship just as we look
most definitely. Most definitely.
All right, hey, thanks, Michael, for being on Mount Pleasant. Yeah, man. All right, bye-bye.
No, thank you. Take care.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant Magazine podcast. Your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at mountpleasantpodcast.com.